Alright YouTube, so we are back of course to talk about some Final Fantasy VII Remake, and we are finally here with this damn Jenova video that I've been talking about for several days now. I've been unintentionally hyping it, and it wasn't the point, it wasn't what we're supposed to do. This video actually came about in kind of a weird way, similar to the Orin possibly supposed to be in Remake video that I did a while back. I came across that, information through Google Images. I was on Google Images grabbing images, probably for an FF10, FF7 Remake related video, whatever it is. And I came across that Orin thing, and the same thing here with this Jenova video we're doing today. And I came across this whenever I was getting images for the Jenova Chaos video I did relatively recently. And what it is, it's a Reddit post from like 7 months ago. This guy points out that during the interaction between Sephiroth and Cloud within the Shinra building right in front of Jenova, there's a brief, headache thing, whatever it is, brief flashback back to the Mountain Bell reactor where we get to see Sephiroth meeting Jenova for the first time. But what's interesting about that interaction is that Jenova is actually missing her head within the flashback.
Mother, together we will reclaim our world.
And why that matters for those that may not be familiar with the original game, up to where we get to the Shinra building in both the original and remake, Jenova's head is already missing. It's something we see in the original game whenever Cloud peers into the Jenova chamber, and it's something we see in remake whenever we just come across Jenova. She no longer has her head. And the reason for her head missing is after Sephiroth discovers the actual Jenova and gets fatally wounded by Cloud, he wants to take a piece of her with him, and he cuts off her goddamn head. Now, hopping back really quickly to that Reddit post from several months ago, people were disagreeing with this dude who posted it, saying that it wasn't a flashback, that was the actual segment within the Shinra building, but it's obviously clearly a flashback. For one, the Jenova within the Shinra building is behind this chamber thing, and during this segment where we're looking back at what should be a flashback, Sephiroth is directly face to face with Jenova, so it's clearly two separate scenes. I don't even know why they're trying to disagree with the guy. And to further add on to this being a flashback, not that we really need to, directly after that we get to see Tifa mourning over her dead father, which of course happens also at the Mountain Bell reactor in the past. So the question then has to be asked, why is it that she's missing her head within the flashback before she's ever supposed to have her head cut off? That segment of Sephiroth talking to Jenova is taking place before he actually gets attacked by Zack and Cloud, before he ever cuts her head off. If we do a side-by-side comparison of the current Jenova within the Shinra building in Remake to the flashback Jenova, you can see they look pretty much the exact same with that bolt thing around what would be like the stump of the neck where the head was cut off, right? It's clearly the exact same Jenova in the past and the present. And if we compare both of these images to the concept art for Jenova for Remake, she's clearly supposed to have a head. It's supposed to look like the regular Jenova that we see within the pod within the Mountain Bell reactor. And something else to kind of further prove that she's missing her head within the flashback is, if you look at the concept art, Jenova's supposed to have very long silver hair similar to Sephiroth. There's clearly no hair within that flashback. So again, we have to ask the question, why is she missing her head in the flashback segment? I have a couple of answers for what this could possibly be. The easiest one to get out of the way is that Remake is different from the original game. The multiple timeline stuff, the possibility of this game being maybe a follow-up to Advent Children or FF7, some sort of a sequel, a 4th edition within the universe or whatever, the 4th game. There could be a lot of things going on here. It could be some shenanigans like that. I don't exactly know. And if we're factoring in the multiple timelines or whatever the hell is going on with Remake, I can't even begin to speculate what that could even mean. So we can kind of move on from this one, but that's a possibility. These other two I think make more sense, and I'm not really sure which one of these I believe more. But first up is the possibility that it's Cloud's faulty memory. Okay, so during this segment in the Shinra building, he's seeing Sephiroth and Jenova together for the first time in years at this point. That's what's giving him that flashback to what happened in the Mountain Bell reactor. And maybe Cloud's just blending reality with his faulty memories, and he's just picturing Jenova how she looks right now, back then. The only problem I have with this is that based on the original game, we know that Cloud's memories are messed up, but they're not exactly inaccurate. He remembers the events of the Nibelheim incident pretty accurately, outside of the fact that it wasn't him that did a lot of the stuff, it was actually Zack. Down to Sephiroth meeting Jenova for the first time, and the Jenova reveal and what she actually looks like. All that is accurate, right? So unless they maybe wanted to change it for Remake where Cloud's memories of the Nibelheim incident aren't entirely accurate in a couple of different ways besides the fact that it was Zack doing most of it, I don't know how much I believe this idea that Cloud's just kind of misremembering what Jenova looked like, but that could also be it maybe. And the last idea I have, and I hate to even suggest it because it honestly sucks if this is the case, is that maybe they just aren't going to have Sephiroth behead her. Even though she is missing a head already, maybe that's just how she looks when it comes to Remake, right? We know that they're not really doing the gore stuff. We didn't get the blood trail and stuff within the Shinra building. We got the glowy purple Jenova trail thing, whatever the hell that was. So maybe Jenova within Remake, despite that concept art we looked at earlier, maybe Jenova within Remake is just kind of already missing the head, which would suck. We know she can survive without the head. That's why she's headless in the Shinra building. That's why she's headless in the original game in the chamber thing. She doesn't need a head to survive. So they could just maybe get rid of her head entirely already. I don't know. It would suck if that's the case. And as I said previously, I'm not really sure which one of the two I believe more, but there is more evidence based on Remake Part 1 to support that they wouldn't want to do anything that's kind of edgy or gory. And I don't know if they'd want to show Sephiroth walking around with a severed head. I just don't know if that's going to happen. But it could also be the first one, dude. It could be remake, new story, multiple timelines, bullshit or something, and there's maybe some other reason why she's missing her head in the past. I don't know. So definitely want to pass off to you guys in the comment section. What are your thoughts on this? For one, when you played through Remake and seen that segment, is it something that you even noticed? Because I absolutely missed this. The game's been out for, 8 months or so at this point. Never even noticed it. If not for this Reddit post, I would still not even know about it. It's definitely a flashback. She's definitely missing her head. But again, the question is, why? So, I definitely want to know your guys' thoughts on this. Either way, that's the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Once I did more Final Fantasy VII Remake content. Turn on all my notifications. Follow me on Twitter, @dashingdavid. I'm on Discord. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys.
Mother. Together, we will reclaim our world.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more. And nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Rogaine or leave it like Cobain.